Experience the thrilling world of dirt track racing at Ohsweken Speedway, your ultimate destination for heart-pounding action in Ontario. Every Friday, tune into GForce TV or witness the excitement live as top-tier sprint cars, mini-stocks, Thunderstocks vie for victory on the track. Owned by renowned Canadian Motorsport Hall of Famer Glenn Stires and skillfully run by our friend General Manager Clinton Jeffrey, Ohsweken Speedway promises an unforgettable evening of short track dirt racing. Picture the adrenaline-charged scene with drivers going side by side, delivering jaw-dropping performances that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss out on the Friday night excitement and mark your calendars for the upcoming Sprint Car Nationals with a whopping $20,000 prize on September 14th. The lineup doesn't stop there. From the NASCAR Canada Series on dirt in July to the UMP Modifieds, 360 sprint cars, crates, mini stocks, Thunderstocks, vintage modifieds, flat track motorcycles, and a myriad of other thrilling races, Ohsweken Speedway has something for every racing enthusiast. Visit ohswekenspeedway.ca now and gear up for an adrenaline-filled experience like no other. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ohsweken Speedway Month here on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. And you can't have Ohsweken Speedway without the man himself. Yes, that's Thunderstock Champion, Brewster Baker himself, the number 49, Dave Bailey is here. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, we got to talk about it, man. Is there anybody better than you right now at Ohsweken Speedway? Because you tend to win quite often, and you do it quite well. How was last year for you?
Well, last year was really good, but obviously Beagle's got our number right now. Just some unfortunate events for him, and some good fortune for us, I guess, led us to another championship. That's kind of the first one I wouldn't say lucked into, but luck had a lot to do with that. And obviously, he's the guy to beat now. Like, we might have took a hardware home, but he got the big races, and he's kind of showing us how it's done right now.
Is that fun? Is that fun to be able to go, hey, I was the king, and now I got somebody I got to chase, or would you rather be on top?
No, obviously, like, winning's fun, but racing is what we're there for, and winning close battles is pretty awesome, but even finishing second in close battles is still pretty good as long as you had a good night.
Dave, take us back and tell us a little bit about your family history. You've got roots in asphalt racing relative to the Slack family too, if I'm not mistaken too, right?
Yeah, so my mom is a Slack, but not that Slack. So there's two Randy Slacks. And
okay. Well, that's not confusing at all.
So the one that they call Cousin Randy is my uncle. And then the one that is my uncle's cousin is the original number 3 Randy Slack. So it's kind of distant. I believe that their fathers were cousins. So they're both from York, Ontario. They both raced. So I think a lot of people think that there's only one of them, but there's actually 2.
It's amazing.
Yeah. See, we're learning all the time here on the show. So yeah, tell us about like, you've done stuff like some ASA and a bit of NASCAR stuff as well. Like, you aren't just a dirt guy. You've done some other things as well too.
Yeah, so I guess going way back, we followed my uncle around. Like, my dad was a photographer, and we followed my uncle around racing. He ran mini modifieds like in the early 80s. And like, he would go to Thompson and Stafford and places like that. And He met Robbie Reiser racing in Florida, like in the 80s. And so he's with Roush now. And that was, or I guess he's not, he was. But Robbie Reiser was his connection from racing mini modifieds like in the 80s. So my parents would drag me around and we would do that and follow him. And then I never actually started racing until I was 16, I think, maybe 15, and got a go-kart. And we raced at Hamilton Kart Club with a lot of familiar names, like Mike Bowman ran there, and Brett Stratford, just Ryan Hunsinger, a bunch of dudes that are still racing now or still involved anyways. So kind of from there, we built a mini stock for the year Ohsweken Open, which was, I think, like 1996. And then after that, like I worked on some cast car stuff, and then because we have deep roots in the sport, I know people who worked on ASA cars and stuff. So through that, I was able to get a deal, and that was the year of the 100th plane crash. We went, and so before the plane crash, I worked on stuff, and that was when there was all kinds of money in NASCAR, and everybody had a development deal, so they had an ASA development thing, and I'd fly out on Fridays and work on the cars for the weekend, and then come back, and yeah, we had an opportunity to work on some Busch cars too, and had a job lined up, but couldn't make it across the border. Just not that I was a bad person or anything, just they wouldn't let me do it. So all in all, it just kind of worked out for the better, because if I was down there, I wouldn't be here. So
right. But what a hell of an experience, though, doing that. Like, what a whirlwind of different things that you, like, hats that you've worn. Holy cow. Yeah,
if I tried to put a timeline together, I feel like what I just said to you wasn't in the proper order, but there's been so many things that I've been able to do, and just fortunate to be able to do things in racing.
For sure.
I'm very curious about your time racing and being down south, because you talked about the NASCAR, being lots of money back then. How do you feel the situation has changed? And in terms of like a grand scheme of how much money is actually left. I mean, this is a great conversation for a lot of people, because I constantly hear people bitch and complain about NASCAR not doing this and not doing that and not doing this. When you were in it, that was at like the peak of its popularity. I feel where did things go wrong? Loaded question, I know, Dave.
Well, I'm not sure that anything really went wrong. Just there was so much money to spend, so they spent it. And I did the Busch stuff before I did the ASA stuff. I think the Busch stuff was like in the late '90s, and that was with Jimmy Means. Like I only went down there for like 5 races, but the races that I was at and we stayed at, like Jimmy was my roommate, so like that was like sweet. Like going with those guys to the ballet and at Watkins Glen, and that was entertaining times, and they're just a good bunch of people. And then that was like a low buck deal. But then when the ASA deal happened, that was, I think, 2004. And Kyle Krisloff drove that car that we worked on, and John DL, his brother Ryan, is won the 24 Hours of Daytona and stuff now. So just there was people buying rides, and like everybody wanted the experience to get into NASCAR, so that's what they did. Even Kenny Habul, I worked on a one race deal at Delaware with Kenny Habul, and he's like that.
Cool.
He sponsored Denny Hamlin. It was like some solar company.
Sun Energy One. Yeah.
Yes. So he was trying to get into NASCAR, and they told him that he had to have oval track experience. So they had money from, I think, Hot Wheels or something. They had sponsorship, and they rented a Peter Gibbons car. And I worked on that car at Delaware for one race just because they needed
75.
People.
75 Kenny Habul car. Yeah. Oh, so wow.
Just, I kind of know a lot of people. So we got, like, I didn't really do anything. Like, I've never actually worked in racing, but I've got to do a lot of cool things and just kind of one-off stuff like that.
Well, how did you transition then to doing the oval track racing in Ontario?
Well, I'm in Hagersville. My parents grew up just down the street from Ohsweken Speedway, and I lived in Caledonia my whole life. And now we're here. So like it's just natural. The Slack family was always paved oval racing, and then now you like I'm lucky because I don't have the last name to live up to, but like so like I helped Ryan Hunsinger and stuff like that, and just that's kind of what we always did was race on pavement. And then I guess when the time came, I raced pavement for a little while, and then I didn't quit pavement racing. It kind of quit me. We had a car that could run both tracks. Like I would run Ohsweken on Fridays with the mini stock and on Saturdays at Flamborough. And then I did the same thing with the Thunder car. And then the Thunder car rules just kind of started drifting off. So like I had a car that was perfectly legal to run on dirt. So there's no point spending all the money to do what the asphalt guys wanted to do. So I just kind of stayed. Like I didn't really quit. I just stayed where my car was legal.
Just organically went that way, I guess, right?
Yeah, and then now like the Slacks with like Bob and Randy, and then like Zalt driving. Those guys grew up on asphalt forever. Like they owned the Ohsweken Speedway, and they're gone dirt racing now too. Ryan
Brewster
Hunsinger,
Baker.
same.
Oh, sorry.
No, just yep.
The Brewster Baker, I mean, you got the 49s all on the ceiling there behind you. Talk about that, the number, what it means to you, the persona. Would you walk out to a Kenny Rogers song and driver intros?
You better.
Well, so again, that was something that pavement racing did because
right.
I ran mini stocks and I was number 31, which is the number that my uncle ran for years. Mm-hmm. So when I ran mini stocks, we went, well, first off, it was 112, the first year I ever ran for Gary Ballou in the Batmobile. And then the scores were mad because it was 3 digits. So then we just knocked one of the numbers off. And then when I came back full time, we made that thing number 31. And I ran the mini stock number 31 forever. Mm-hmm. And then when I moved up to Thunder cars on pavement, you can't have 2 cars with the same number. And Kevin Gallant already had the 31.
Right.
So I had no ties to anything. So we figured if we have a Camaro, and I was like 6 years old when Six Pack came out, and I was a huge fan. So if you're going to have a Camaro and I got no ties to nothing, like that's what you got to do.
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
Well, it's the type of decoration I would definitely want to have in my shop. I mean, you got checks up there. You've got the sides of the car with the number, everything. I mean, that's the way to go about it. Running at Ohsweken Speedway has got to be an absolute thrill. And that track, we've talked about it. It's got to be up there for one of the crown jewels in Ontario, is it not?
Yeah, that place is so awesome. Just like to get to run there every Friday night. It's pretty cool because I grew up, the Ohsweken Speedway's 10, 15 minutes that way, and Ohsweken's 10 and 20 minutes the other way. So for our location and to get to grow up around Ohsweken and then have Ohsweken come, and like that's where we make our home now. It's amazing that we're able to do that, like so close to home.
Yeah, not enough people get the opportunity to race close to home as well. So obviously you've made it your home. How has Ohsweken Speedway changed since it's opened? Obviously, Glenn has put a ton of effort and change into it recently, but I mean, they constantly are updating people with what's going on. Clinton's always updating. He's always got a camera going around with what he's doing, talking about what changes are being made at the racetrack. But how has it changed, and how has dirt racing changed since you started racing it?
Well, when I first started there, I was in the mini stock stuff, and they never had many Thunder cars. Like they were down to, I bet you, 6 or 8 cars tops.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know when that would have been, maybe 15 years ago. But so the racetrack is kind of the same dirt circle it's always been, but clearly around the place it's amazing. Like we pull in, there's got to be more concrete in that place than there is in most asphalt tracks. Like you pull off and you go through Tech, and then we pull off Tech and we drive across the pavement to the concrete for our pit stall and like all the front row stuff. It's like you start off with the street stock guys, and then like there's some crate sprints, but then like there's $1 Million Row there on the left hand side, and it's just such an impressive site with like all the money and just like the professionalism of the whole place. It's like outstanding.
talk a little bit about your division too, as you said that it was, for lack of a better term, maybe on the ropes a number of years ago, and really, I want to say dirt racing isn't. It's always had such a huge following, but I think maybe I would like to think, in part due to Glenn Stiers, he's kind of the face of the worlds of dirt and asphalt, and he's bringing everybody together. What's it like racing at Ohsweken right now, and having that kind of momentum, and having the fans in the stands?
The biggest thing is cars. All the classes are full. They got rid of the bombers a few years back, which was kind of like not great for those guys. But now those guys have moved up or whatever they've done, and they've got full mini stock class, full Thunders, both sprint car classes are full again. Like even the 360s had been down for a bit, and then that crate class it kind of got too full, so guys moved up from the crates into the 360s. So the 360 class is full, and just getting to do it, like it's YouTube, but it's still TV to us.
Yep.
Like getting to do that, and people see like the competitive stuff, and like there's guys at APC races or wherever working in their shops or camping overnight. Like they just see what you get to do, and it's pretty sweet that they see what we get to do, and we get to showcase like even the mini stocks and the Thunder cars, not just the sprint car stuff.
And the dirt, they're even growing the racers too. I mean, the little O's out back too with the kids racing too, right?
Yeah, it is like Thursday night stuff, and Maryville's doing the same thing on Tuesday, and then I'm pretty sure they got Little Middleton that runs maybe on Wednesdays. So there's the whole circuit for. They don't run the same stuff at Maryville, but there's kids at Maryville racing, and then kids out at Tilsonburg and Ohsweken running during the week too, to always growing racers.
That's awesome.
It seems like such a healthy like a healthy side of racing right now, obviously. And I'm gonna throw out that, you said it's only YouTube, but it's TV to you. Otherwise, I would have never known who Dave Bailey was. I wouldn't know the names at Ohsweken Speedway. And GForce TV has really done amazing in being able to promote you guys, so that I go and wait every week to watch my Delaware and watch my Ohsweken back to back, and I get to know who the names are, and I get to pull for Dave Bailey every time he's out there. And unfortunately, every race that I seem to catch, Ryan Beagle beat you, but I mean, that's, again, you got people getting experience, and you're being seen not just by Canadians and people in Ontario, but people from all over the world. We've seen it a couple of times where people that are tuning in are from whole different countries in Europe, and we had somebody in Australia that was watching. It's got to be amazing that your car is being seen, your partners are being seen, you're being seen by all these fans from all over the world.
Yeah, it's extra cool. And having, like, we never knew that we were going to win races or whatever. When I went with the Brewster Baker thing, like, that was new. And so now that we have been successful, and it is so broad, anybody who's whatever, 35 or older or 40 or older, they know Six Pack, and they see that car, and it's like instantly recognizable. Whether they like us or they don't, like they still recognize the car like as what it is. Even like you watch Flow and on a weekend, and you'll see a street stock race somewhere, and there'll be somebody with that same paint scheme. Like it's pretty cool that
it's iconic.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's just awesome that we get recognized like that. Just you see, they got, I think their lowest night they had like 19,000 views or something. So that's pretty cool.
It's like the movie culture of like the Bandit Trans Am and like the Brewster Camaro and the like other
the Clyde Torkel Chicken Pit Special.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of like that's a cool part of racing and car culture that you're associated with, and you bring that to Ohsweken. So I mean, everybody that you say in that age demographic, or that dads like me that show their kids those movies and stuff, will be like, there it is, there's the Brewster Baker car. I mean, like that's a cool thing to be a part of. I mean, and as like we're handing racing to another generation, and I mean that's passing it on, like that's not nothing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and for anybody out there, I don't know if it's legit or not, but if you search Six Pack Movie on YouTube, it's there. So
It is, yeah, for sure.
anybody that hasn't seen it, you can check it out there.
It's a
I
good
want to
movie.
know, Dave, you've been racing for a bit, for a couple years. Who are some names out at Ohsweken Speedway that we should be looking towards for the future? Because they've got they've got some skill. Somebody that you think that we'll be hearing a lot of in the coming years.
I think that's kind of put me on the spot.
Loaded question.
Obviously, Kyle Work's been running really good lately. Donnie Lampman, I don't know how much he can run because he's in college now, but he started when he was probably 14 or 15. Not sure if he started at Merrittville first, or there was one place that let him run anyway, so he got experience when he was pretty young, and he's a pretty good racer now. So I'm sure that Dad's ready to give it up sometime soon, but Donnie's more than capable of taking over, and the Whittle kid, he's young too. Justin Whittle, I don't even know how old that kid would be, but maybe 17-ish, something like that. And he came around when he was real young too, and he's been improving, and it sounds like he's going to run full-time at Ohsweken. So, and then obviously, like, there's a regular cast of characters too, but that kid should be pretty good, hopefully.
It's always exciting that you've got new faces to go about running with you in the divisions, but being, I guess, a threat for the title. Speaking of threats, is it going to be between you and Beagle again this year, or you got some other characters that you think potentially that could sneak in there and steal a couple from you guys?
It's really hard to say because you never can tell, because we weren't supposed to win when we did, and then we've been pretty consistent. Even Beagle, he wasn't all that great, and then all of a sudden, like, he'd win maybe a race a year or whatever, but now all of a sudden he's the guy to beat. So you kind of never know when, like, the next guy might just show up, or someone that has been on a down streak picks it back up again. Me and Ryan Denning had battles. I think we went a full calendar year of me and him winning every feature, and he was close last year. He quit for a bit and kind of went crate sprint racing, and then now he's been back full time for a year. So a guy like that, he'll be back again, I'm sure. Like, there's no way that guy's going to go another year without winning. So just, you never can tell. It's the dirt's the great equalizer, and who knows what happened to the racetrack over the winter, or what's happened to the dirt over the winter. And if it, like that car Beagles, it's different than everyone else's, and that thing gets a ton of bite when it slicks off, and it's not super great early, but you never know what the racetrack does. And if it stays slick, then clearly he's the guy to beat. And if something else happens, then maybe some dude who's hammered down, not lifting, will come up and beat us both. You never know.
I'm sure you guys are itching to get out there and get some laps. Who you got lined up for partnerships and everything this year?
So far this year, we got Jibs and Queenston Chevrolet. My car, actually, normally it sits right here behind me, but it's at the dealership at Queenston right now until we'll pick it back up on Saturday and then take it to Merrittville for practice.
Nice.
It's definitely going to be one heck of a season for you, Dave. You got the opportunity to run a couple seasons. We've long been fans of the NASCAR Canada Series, so we've got to talk about the experience for you driving the 36 out there, a couple of races. I would assume it doesn't drive anything like a Thunderstock on the dirt. Would I be wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's basically got twice the horsepower and half the grip. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't anything like what we had expected. Obviously, anybody who knows Bob Slack knows that, like, he's a modified guy, and he's always loves tinkering and building whatever he can to make bite. And so he had that thing trying to make it like a dirt modified, but if it doesn't have any grip, it's still not going to have any grip. Like, it doesn't matter. If the tire's hard, you can't do a whole lot to make up for that. And I think by the end of it, by last year, everybody just brought back like the good oval car track, or oval cars, and it was kind of the same guys that were good on pavement were good on dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like there was a learning curve from year one to the second year of, like, despite the fact of the doubleheader or whatever, it was just kind of figuring out what worked and what didn't. Kind of like when we saw the NASCAR trucks do it for the first time too, where they just, you didn't know exactly how to attack it because there was no rule book or whatever. And as you say, dirt is the great equalizer. Sometimes it'll work great for some, and then others, yeah, you just completely miss it, and it'll show up on the track. That's for sure.
Yeah, we kind of figured that it'd be. Well, I figured it'd be more like a street stock, and Bob kind of wanted to go more the modified way, and
Right.
it turns out it was pretty much just a really slippery pavement race.
Yeah.
Like all the guys in that series, they're professional racers. Like they're not amateurs by any means. Like they all kind of know what they're up to. Like so, when you get out there, they were all like nobody looked out of place. Like everybody was still a good show, and they didn't wreck nothing. Like the second race of the second year, I guess the first year the one car got wrecked, but that was kind of just a bad deal. And then I got wrecked the second night of the second year, and I really don't think they wrecked a whole lot of stuff other than that.
No, they did. Right. They put on a pretty safe, pretty good show for the most part. I know a lot of people had their opinions on it. I believe that's year 3 that they're going to do it again this year, and then it'll be up for debate whether they'll be back the following year. But what are you looking forward to most this year, Dave? Because obviously the season gets started pretty soon, actually. I believe it's May 17th for season opener, and lots of great events out at the Big O this year. So what are you looking forward to most?
Just the way that class has become, and I know that this is Ohsweken show, but Ohsweken, we have the ODCC through Ohsweken, Brighton, Buxton, Merrittville, and Humberstone. So we got a big race coming up for all the same rules, and I believe Brighton's off that week, so there's going to be a big race June 1st at Merrittville. It's going to pay $3,000 to win. There's money for time trials and money for heat races, so that'll be like, hopefully we get a lot of the Ohsweken cars to support it, and then I'm sure that the heavy hitters from Brighton and Buxton will be around too. And then obviously the big one at the end of the year for us, the $5,000 to win the night before the night before the Crate Nationals, and the night before the Nationals. So that'll be a big deal for us too, and hopefully get all kinds of guys out to support that, and it'll be a pretty sweet camping weekend. There should be a lot of people there camped on the Thursday night. Just get to put on a show in front of a bunch of people.
Well, Dave, we want to thank you for coming on the Stickers and Stuffs podcast. This is new to us. We're not typically dirt racing covering. We're more asphalt people, but we wanted to learn a little more about the dirt racing world. And why not ask somebody who we see in Victory Lane quite often? So how can people follow along with you and your race team on social media?
All I really got is just Twitter and Instagram, Fast49, and I got a YouTube page. So maybe I'll try and keep my kid to get my kid to edit videos or something. I think maybe only put up one last year, but we have been pretty religious on putting them up the day after. But last year it kind of just got away from us, and then once we didn't do it for the start of the year, we kind of just give up on it. But hopefully we'll get back on that, and that's the same thing, Fast49 on YouTube, and there's a lot of previous stuff. You can see my old asphalt stuff on there too, so just whatever. When you're bored, go have a look.
Sounds like fun. I think we're going to do that. Totally. Dave Bailey joining us on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Best of luck in 2024, Dave.
Thanks, guys.